How do you feel about coffee shops? I would bet that even if you're not a coffee drinker, you've probably benefited from going to them and experiencing some combination of focus, flow, and creativity.
And with all of these benefits, it's no surprise that Christians can often be found spending time in coffee shops. It seems like nearly a meme at this point.
I've even heard some people call it the Protestant sacrament.
All of that aside, I do know a number of people around me who've really enjoyed spending time in coffee shops, and it's not always a life stage that can be sustained very well. But I can say that even using Obsidian at home, it really can feel like the coffee shop experience. Let me explain. Hi, I'm Jay. I'm a follower of Jesus, a husband, father, and tech professional. In using Obsidian for a while, I've found there's lots of value that can come for Christians from using Obsidian, and that's what I want to show you. Jesus tells us to go out into the world, but if we are not to conform to the world, we need some help in renewing our minds. So I want to show us where we can start by just reviewing our minds. Even in this past week, have you felt your brain go back and forth between different spaces? Are you like me in having to find you have to balance and juggle different worlds and different things that you need to process? Well, if this sounds like it might benefit you at all, consider subscribing and take a look at some of my videos that I have and see if there are any that can help you immediately right now.
While coffee has had an extensive history all around the world, in the United States we haven't had quite the same cafe experience. It wasn't really until the 1970s when Starbucks started introducing their brand to the United States, which would since then be referred to as the third place experience. Now I could say way more on this, but just Google it, it's a thing. But for our purposes, we just need to know that it's a place between work and home, and that for at least a stable living, there needs to be some third place in between. In many other cultures around the world, it's largely just assumed, but in the United States, we have to give it a name, third place. And while market pressures find their way into more and more parts of our lives, work comes more into our personal lives, and our personal lives become more like our work. And while there are different ways to look at that as potentially positive, I think it just points to a problem, is that we miss those third places. And without those third places, we don't have any perspective, and we don't have any space to reflect on who we are outside of work and who we are when we come to work, let alone finding space for our family or for our neighbors or our community around us. And what I've come to realize is that our minds need third places as well. There are all types of apps out there, many for productivity in our work lives, but also now more for our personal wellness and well-being. And we don't even need to mention the endless apps for bottomless content for our entertainment. And as our expectations of these services continue to rise, the cost of having these run is more expensive, and then market pressures find their way into even these apps. And the result is they have to be more profit-driven, and then we get more and more entangled in their algorithms and their logics. And back to physical third places, a key aspect of them is they're often not fully profit-driven. They're typically more mission-driven or sustained by the ideas and values of the surrounding community that they're in. And with profit being in the background as opposed to the forefront, that makes space for people and relationships more than just profit and commerce.
In like physical third places, I've come to find Obsidian is like my mental third place. It's not a pay-to-play location where you have to abide by their policies and rules. It's not just being stuck at home and being isolated and just being left to your own thoughts. And while Obsidian is a business and does need profit to be sustainable, I've come to believe that profit isn't their main function. They do have a product, but it's off to the side, and that makes space for individuals. And this is a service that clearly recognizes individuality, privacy, and not being locked into their own platform. So in making a space that's free, they don't have the equivalent of a server coming by every 10 minutes asking, is there anything else I can get you? And it's in this setting that all ideas and all concepts are welcome, where you can have all of those ideas mix, interact, and ultimately relate to each other. So I made this comparison with Obsidian being like a coffee shop where you can have focus, flow, and creativity. And I want to share with you how I've experienced Obsidian providing that coffee shop experience. So first, focus. Obsidian is a third place. Allow me to introduce Obsidian. Obsidian states that they are a private and flexible writing app that adapts to the way you think. In practice, this is basically just a text editor, and it just helps manage text files in folders that can do amazing things. So it's not your apps of content that feed you a stream of media, and it's not a task management tool where you have a bunch of demands and needs that you need to manage. It's technically anything you want to make it, and that makes it an intellectual safe space. And while the internet holds an ethos for having insatiable appetites for information, all of your information is kept within Obsidian. Now granted, you can put information into Obsidian, that's a big point, but the biggest idea is that it contains your thoughts and ideas. Though, similar to the internet, Obsidian does function in a paradigm of links, and whereas on the World Wide Web, there are infinite links that can draw your attention to new places, but in Obsidian, the links draw you to your own thoughts and ideas within the app. So the result of this is basically building a wiki for your own life. And since my brain isn't pulled away into a bunch of different directions, this allows you to stay in one place and to maintain focus. And Obsidian provides flow. So what is flow? Flow is a mental state where you're so immersed in activity that your brain can function at an optimal level and move about with efficiency. It's like where your brain is being utilized, but not so utilized that you're starting to implode. And since Obsidian is also a digital tool, it can function in a lot of the same paradigms that we're used to with the internet, with links and with searching and with queries. I'll talk about creativity next, but a big aspect of creativity is taking separate ideas and putting them together in new and novel combinations. This is where linking is extremely helpful. And while linking already is a distinction between many other different types of note-taking apps, Obsidian can really help you answer a couple of key things about linking. Didn't I create something like that already? What did I call that thing? Where did I put it? I can say many things about how you can have techniques to help manage these links, but suffice it to say, this has given me high confidence to either recognize if I've already made something in my vault or if I have not. So then in terms of flow, that allows me to link and keep going, or to just start writing. Obsidian can really help with just gathering all of that information together and helping you create. And as far as creativity, I've kind of been alluding to it a little bit, but this process of searching and writing reflects the creative process in two specific ways. The first is divergent thinking. This is where you expand all possible relationships to the current idea that you have and explore possibilities. If you're making links in Obsidian, this prompts you to ask, what is this idea related to? And as far as this specific idea, where does it fit amongst all of my other ideas? And with features like templates, this is a way that you can help draw out and flesh out all your thoughts and ideas and get them out of your head and into your vault where you can see them and review them. And the second mode is convergent thinking. This is where you filter out and sift through all of the possibilities and you hone in on a specific solution that'll work for the situation you're in. This is a form of problem solving, or in the case of an artist, this would be reflecting to think what would most communicate the idea that I'm trying to express. So then in terms of using Obsidian, of all of the links that you could use, this is a process that forces you to constrain your thoughts and your flow to one specific link. And as virtually a text editor, Obsidian can help you with the organizing and relating of all of your different thoughts into what you're trying to express.
And while I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to seek out a cafe experience, I can say that using Obsidian helps manage these processes pretty well.
So 10 out of 10, would recommend.
Beverage of your choice, optional.
So like I said, Obsidian is a free app, so go ahead and download it on whatever platform you're on and check out some of these videos, and I'd love showing you how I've been using Obsidian and how I think it can really equip you for love and good works and help you be in the world and not of the world.